They called 911 because a woman locked her own pool gate. Not because anyone was drowning. Not because of danger. Just a teenage boy, mad that he couldn't cannonball into something he never owned. It was a quiet Sunday in Pinecrest Valley. That kind of warm, golden afternoon where the breeze smells like jasmine and fresh-cut grass. Julia Monroe had just finished scrubbing the pool tiles when she heard the sirens, sharp and intrusive, slicing through the peace like a razor through silk. She looked up, garden hose still dripping in her hand, as two officers stepped out of their cruiser, and behind them, a red-faced teenage boy named Tyler Granger, flailing his arms and pointing like he was trying to identify a criminal in a lineup. "She locked me out of the neighborhood pool," he shouted, his voice cracking with the kind of outrage only privilege can carry. "It's for all of us. My mom said so." Julia raised one brow, still calm, still quiet. She walked toward the officer slowly, barefoot on the hot stone path, towel still over one shoulder, and pulled a neatly folded paper from her back pocket. The same paper she'd been carrying for weeks now. The officer took it. His eyes skimmed over the official seal, the legal stamp, the deed that said in no uncertain terms, "This pool, this property, this home, it belongs to Julia Monroe." Tyler's voice faltered, just for a moment. But this wasn't the beginning of the chaos. It was just the moment it boiled over. 6 months ago, Julia had been a single mom with nothing but her savings, her 9-year-old son Ben, and a dream of starting fresh. After her divorce from a man who treated her like a convenience, she'd scraped together every cent to buy a modest home in Pinecrest Valley. The place was a fixer-upper, sure, but it had a fenced-in yard, a small pool, and most importantly, silence. What Julia didn't know then was that silence was only temporary. The HOA in Pinecrest Valley had dissolved years earlier. Too many unpaid dues, too many internal conflicts. But Karen Granger, Tyler's mother, had never quite let it go. She called herself the community voice, unofficial, unelected, but loud. 3 weeks after Julia moved in, Karen showed up at her front door with a lemon pie and an agenda. "You'll be keeping the pool open for the neighborhood kids." "Right," Karen said, waving like she was already welcomed. Julia blinked. "The pool. It's my private backyard." Karen laughed. "Oh, sweetheart. The previous owner always let us use it. It's sort of tradition." There it was. That smile. The kind that's tight at the corners. The kind that says, "I'm pretending this is friendly, but I expect you to fold." Tyler didn't say a word during that first meeting. Just stood there behind his mother, chewing gum and eyeing the pool like it was his birthright. Julia declined the tradition. That's when things started to turn. The first time she found footprints on the wet stone when she came home. She thought it might have been a mistake. Maybe landscapers. Maybe kids cutting through, then she found towels. Pool toys that weren't Ben's. Sunblock that wasn't hers. Tyler had been letting himself in through a loose fence plank. Julia called Karen. Told her plainly the trespassing needs to stop. Karen's response. A scoff. "You're being territorial. Julia, this neighborhood used to feel like a community. Now you're just making everyone uncomfortable." Tyler didn't stop. He brought friends. They swam, blasted music, left beer cans behind the tool shed. One morning, Julia found a cigarette butt floating in the skimmer basket. Ben asked if they were allowed in the pool when she wasn't home. That night, she installed a lock on the gate. The next morning, Karen posted a long Facebook rant. Carefully worded, no names. But everyone knew who it was about. "She's trying to keep our kids out of what's always been a community space." It read, "Selfishness like this is why neighborhoods fall apart." The comments poured in. Some were sympathetic. Most weren't. One comment stood out. From Daniel Vega. a quiet man in his 60s who had lived on the street for decades. This property's never been shared. He wrote, the HOA dissolved years ago. The pool was always private. But that single line vanished within minutes. Karen replied publicly, "You don't know the whole story. Dan, don't spread misinformation." The next day, Julia saw Daniel at the mailboxes. He looked apologetic. His hands trembled slightly as he stuffed letters into the slot. "I'm sorry," he muttered. "Didn't mean to make things worse." His eyes avoided hers. His shoulders dropped. Then he walked away. That moment stuck with her, not because he didn't fight harder, but because he tried okay and got slapped down for it. 1 week later, Julia came home to find Tyler again in her pool, alone this time. He claimed he had left his hat during the last swim. When Julia demanded he leave, he scoffed. "You can't own water," he said. "My mom says we have a right." Julia threatened to call the police. That's when he left. That night, Julia installed a full security system with motion sensors and night vision cameras. She didn't want revenge. She just wanted peace. But the cameras caught everything. Tyler climbing the fence at 7 a.m. Tyler hopping over again at noon. And finally, Tyler swimming at 5 p.m., just before dialing 911. That's how we got to the moment with the cops and the flailing teenager. Officer Mendoza read the deed again, slowly, carefully. "Ma'am," he said, "you're well within your rights. He has no claim to this property." Tyler's mouth opened to argue, but this time, no sound came out. That's when Karen stormed onto the scene. "You're letting paperwork tell you what's right," she snapped. "This is a community issue. She's dividing us." The officer turned the document toward her. "According to county records, this property and the pool is privately owned. You've been trespassing." Karen's smile cracked for the first time. The officer continued. "Using 911 to settle a non-emergency property dispute could lead to charges. And trespassing again. Will." The street had filled with neighbors by now, watching, whispering. Some looked away. One woman crossed her arms and muttered, "I thought it was a shared pool." Daniel Vega was there too. This time, standing a little straighter, eyes meeting Julia's with a silent nod. Karen didn't apologize. She never would. But the posts stopped. The whispers slowed. And Tyler. He vanished for the rest of the summer. Julia heard he'd been made to write apology letters for the Facebook harassment. One of them went to Daniel. Julia upgraded the fence. Added slats for privacy. Motion alerts pinged her phone every time a leaf moved. And that was fine with her. She started hosting Ben's Friends again. Small, respectful, joyful gatherings that reminded her why she bought the house in the first place. The pool became hers again, her safe space. The air didn't feel so heavy. One evening, weeks later, Julia went to the store. As she reached for a can of iced tea, a familiar voice behind her cleared his throat. David Granger, Karen's husband. He looked tired, but sincere. "I wanted to say thank you," he said, "for how you handled all that. Karen's seeing someone, therapy, and Tyler. He's volunteering at the rec center." Julia didn't smile, just nodded. David paused. "I don't expect forgiveness. Just wanted you to know. We're trying to do better." Then he left. The truth is, you can fight someone over fences, or pools, or noise. But sometimes what you're really fighting is entitlement. The kind passed down like family silver. The kind that says what's yours should be ours. Julia never wanted a war. She just wanted a quiet place to float with her son. Now she has it. But it came at a cost. Because some neighbors moved on, others didn't. Some nodded in quiet apology. Others still looked away. But one thing was clear. No one climbs that fence anymore. You think Julia went too far or not far enough? Was Karen just stuck in the past or something more dangerous? Let's talk. Who was right? Who was wrong? Drop your thoughts below. And if you believe in boundaries and justice, like, subscribe, and share this story.